This is how to cook restaurant quality pork. Basically what I'm going to do is just take the skin off the side. So you see this here, it's not the best to eat, so you can make crackling out of this separately, just boil it up and yeah, boil it up in a pan for a good couple of hours so it's super soft. You can let it dry out in a oven overnight on like 80 degrees and then just fry it up and it basically turns into chicharron. So basically with a pork chop you want to treat it a little bit differently to a steak. So you don't want to start at such a raging heat because you want a sort of slow caramelization. You want to render out that fat. So there's going to be a lot of fat, so usually season it quite liberally and start it fat side down. And you see I've not added any oil to the pan, so I'm just basically just letting the fat do the work, and it's such a good layer of fat on there. It's going to slowly render out, and then you'll use that to cook your steak, add a bit of butter and make a pan sauce a la minute last minute. So when we were cooking the steaks, we're taking it to about 48 degrees for medium rare. Problem is, most people often overcook pork, and really you should only be taking it to, you should take it to about 56 degrees, so you've got a beautiful pink hue to it. I'd say medium for a pork chop, usually absolutely spot on. Whilst that's cooking, we'll just get everything ready for a really simple pan sauce. So we're going to baste it, butter baste it in thyme, and then this is just some sage. I got a beautiful Aspel cider here, a little bit of apple sauce that we make in house, but you can just use the bought stuff. Just do a really nice fine chiffonade of sage. You don't need a huge amount of it. And then we're going to finish with a nice big hit of whole grain mustard. This is the best way I like to eat my pork chops. I think back in the day my parents used to cook me pork chops every couple of weeks and they were just so dry. When I went to work in the kitchen for the first time, I tried pork medium rare. You know, I said to my chef, I was like, oh, is this all right to eat? He sort of laughed at me in disdain. English folks just really do tend to overcook it. You can see already how much fat's come out of that. It's quite a lot. I'm just flipping it over now, so you've got a nice good bit of caramelization on the outside of that fat. Quite a high heat, but nowhere near as high as steak, because we're looking for more of a medium cooking on the pork. So it's exactly the same as we're cooking the steak. We're giving it a good couple of flips. Never really changes that. You just want to try and give it equal time on each side. So it's roughly been in now for about 3 minutes on each side. So you can see it's starting to get that beautiful crust. Still just rendering out that fat as much as we can. I want to try and get a really nice colour. You can see like so much fat comes off it. I mean, to be honest, that fat is basically my favourite bit. Just like pork fat, like all the different fats all react a little bit differently. Beef fat's obviously super rich, super delicious. I think pork fat's super soft. It's really satisfying to eat a good caramelised piece, but it's really important that you render out the fat. Lamb fat's pretty much the same as well. It can be quite unpleasant if it's not cooked all the way through. So go to your butcher and ask for a really large chop. Make sure that they leave the bone in. This is essentially the prime rib on a pig. Say this is probably weighing about 380 grams, or a little bit of that fat off. Absolutely great to use for loads of other things. Now just put your butter in to cool it down nicely. Keep the heat nice and high. You want that butter to be foaming. This will naturally cool the pan down with the foaming butter. Still just turning it as well. Add my herbs in there now. So rosemary, a little bit of thyme. Look at that golden fat. What I'll do now, just take that out on my board and let it rest for a little bit. Just let those herbs just infuse into the spice, and then once they're lightly infused, we're going to remove them, and then we can start the rest of our pan sauce. It's been resting for a minute. It's on 53 degrees. We're looking for a temperature of about 56 degrees serving temp. So let that rest for a little bit of time. You can feel on the outside of the meat, it's very hot. So like 65 degrees, so you know that heat is going to perforate into the rest of the meat. So remove our herbs, table that delicious butter, whack our sage in there, good hit of black pepper, toast that off lightly, good glug of English cider. We're going to reduce that right down. Whack the heat right up now, so that's going to reduce nice and quick. Last stage, we're going to add a little bit of stock. Just use a stock cube, any stock cube. Well, chicken or beef really. We've got pork, even better. The cider is going to add a load of sweetness to it. And then we're going to use a mustard. Mustard contains, basically, it contains a thickening agent. So when you add mustard to things, it helps to thicken at the last stage. So yeah, you can see we've hit 56 there, so it's perfect to rest now for another couple of minutes. It's reduced to that stage where the fat has begun to emulsify into the cider. This is just a beef stock. We're just going to use a small amount. I'd say that's equivalent to 1 stock cube. Nice amounts of gelatin in there. With pork and stuff, you don't want a really intense beefy sauce. You want to keep it quite light. Stand up to it a little bit, but also not overshadow it, so it doesn't need to be too thick. You can see it's got some body to it, so it's really close. So what we're going to start doing now is we'll start carving up our pork. So you see there's a bone that goes all the way down, and then we've left what's called a chine bone on there. You probably won't have that when you order yours from the butcher, or you could ask them to remove it. But to carve it, it's super simple. You just hug that bone, and it goes all the way around. Then there's a little bit of a divot at the end, where you can just basically just follow the bone the whole way around. So it's super simple, and you shouldn't have any left on it. It's quite nice just to serve the bone with the pork, though, in my opinion. So nice slices, nice and thick. So that's what we're looking for. Juicy, nice and pink in the middle, nicely cooked, nicely caramelized on the outside. So maybe just salt, a little bit of pepper. So now we're just going to finish our sauce with a bit of whole grain mustard. So that's going to add a beautiful acidity and a freshness to the sauce. Like, notice we're adding it last thing as well. We've got this apple sauce as well. Again, like, you've cooked all that cider down, adding a little bit of fresh apple at the end is going to make a nice difference to the sauce. Sauce the meat, glaze that sauce all over. Delicious fat. Glaze the bone. And leave that eye of meat unsauced so you can see the beautiful caramelization and cuisson. Pork chop, apple and mustard sauce. Easy peasy.